What's good, y'all? Welcome to the Mixing Mondays podcast, episode 13, man. This is going to be the season finale for the first season. We're going to come back next Monday with a new season. And that season, we're going to dive more into the technical aspect of things. This will be the last episode of the beginner series, which is everything you need to know before and during the recording process. But without ado, man, let's hop right in. So today, we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts in the recording studio. Specifically, if you are an artist, here are a few don'ts on studio etiquette. Don't number one is show up late unnotified. The last thing the engineer wants to do is just sit there and twiddle with his thumbs or do some other shit while waiting for your ass because he does not know when you're randomly just going to show up. If you are going to be late, try to communicate that with your engineer and let him know that you are going to show up late so that way he's able to work on whatever he's got to work on in the meantime while you're still trying to get here. If you ghost on your engineer, this builds a poor reputation. You might not be prioritized the next time that it comes that you want to book a session. Don't number two is when you get to the studio, do not touch any of the equipment. This means do not touch the knobs. Do not try to move the microphone stand yourself unless the engineer allows you to. Do not touch the microphone. Do not touch anything in the studio because you can really easily fuck something up, and studio equipment is a lot of money. Typically, when it comes to the microphone, the engineer will set that up themselves because they know the sound that they're trying to achieve and they know how to position the mic properly to achieve that sound. Try not to touch the pop filter, the microphone placement. I know personally, some artists like to record a very specific way with a very specific mic placement, so I will adjust it to their liking if that is how they want to record.
If you are bringing friends to the studio,
make sure they do not walk into the recording booth mid-recording. There's been plenty of times mid-recording where I'll see an artist's friend or another artist try to walk into the recording booth as we're recording a good take. And this could really fuck up the flow of things and sometimes can mess up a really good take. Another don't is do not negotiate on price. If an engineer gives you a price, even if it is a high price, it typically means they are experienced and they know what they are doing.
If you start lowballing the engineer,
he is not going to give a fuck about your song if he does decide to work on it. You lowball me on a low offer, I'm just straight up not going to take the work anymore. Engineering is not as easy as pressing a button and boom, everything's done. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of time and a lot of training to get to the point where you're able to charge these prices. If you want to work with somebody lower, work with somebody lower, but chances are you are going to get what you paid for. Another don't is do not blow smoke directly into the microphone. I understand some artists, they want to smoke in the booth, they want to smoke in the studio to catch a vibe, and I completely understand that, but do not blow smoke into the microphone or into any of the gears because this can lead to dust buildup. You might end up fucking up the capsule inside the microphone, and so if you are gonna smoke inside the microphone booth, try to blow it away from the microphone and allow it to vent out of the room. And that goes for engineers as well. If you are gonna allow your artist to smoke in the studio, make sure you are well ventilating the studio because the standing smoke can end up just causing dust everywhere. It will fuck up the quality of the equipment if it is not taken care of properly. Moving on, another don't is do not put the headphones right next to the microphone when you're setting it back down. On top of that, do not allow the microphone to an open headphone because this can cause a feedback ring. And this is that high-pitched ring that sometimes happens when you put the headphones too close to the microphone. If you don't know where to set the headphones down after you're done recording, ask the engineer where to put them. Wherever you found the headphones at first, that's usually where the headphones should go after. So do not put the headphones directly on the mic because you will cause a loud feedback ring that nobody wants to hear. The last don't that I got is do not be an asshole, man. The whole idea of coming to a studio is to build chemistry between the artist and the engineer to make something out of nothing. And so if you are here just being a complete dickhead and disrespecting the whole environment and disrespecting the engineer, this will make the song that much worse. So be nice to your engineer, man. Be patient with them. If they are a good engineer, they'll be able to do things without you even having to ask them. Make sure everybody is on the same page and we're all just trying to get to the same desired result, which is a good fucking song. All right, so moving on to the do's
is communicate with your engineer.
And what I mean by that is if you are going to have any inconvenience, if you're going to be late, if you want any suggestions or you have any ideas, make sure you communicate that with your engineer. My last episode, building an artist and engineer relationship, has a lot of specifics when it comes to this, but just be sure to communicate with your engineer to get everybody on the same fucking page. On top of that, another do is come up with a plan beforehand. And I understand as an artist, you want to come into the studio and kind of vibe it out and figure it out as you go along. But it is way better to come in with an idea so that way you can immediately catch a vibe and get to work, and the engineer can catch a flow to things and everything will just run a lot smoother. So I feel like a lot of this is obvious to say, so I'm just going to move on to the next point, which is give the engineer some time to get things right in the beginning. I know a lot of artists that sometimes just automatically want to hop straight into the booth and get things going. You can communicate with your engineer before the session starts and send him the beats and have him try to set everything up so that way when you get here, you can hop straight in. Also allow your engineer to set up the mic properly and give it a couple test runs. He might need to move it up, down, tilt it, whatever. This will make the rest of the process just fall into place and everything will sound great in the end because everything is set up already to begin with. The next thing on the do list, let your engineer at the end of the recording to add in whatever he feels like needs to be added to the song,
Whether that is an effect,
whether that is a beat drop, whether that is a vocal chop. If your engineer has ideas, allow him to express that in the music. If an engineer has a feeling of what to add to the song, this can drastically help how a song sounds in the end because an engineer typically has a good feeling on arrangement and flow throughout the song. I know a lot of artists that want to immediately hop into the next song and immediately hop into the next song. And as an engineer, your job is to try to keep the pace of that and try to move on as fast as possible. But it is courteous as an artist to allow your engineer some time, whether that's 5-10 minutes, just to edit and add in some little things here and there. Another do is give feedback. So what I mean by this is if you feel like your vocals are too loud, say your vocals are too loud. Do not be shy. If you're shy, the song's gonna come out like ass because you might not be on the same page as the engineer. And if you're not on the same page as the engineer, then you got to get to that spot by telling the engineer,
hey, you got to, maybe turn my vocals down a little bit. Hey, I want to redo this part. Hey, I think I could hit this better.
Just give your honest feedback because as an engineer, you're not going to hurt my feelings. You're probably not going to hurt another engineer's feelings. I'd rather hear feedback and ideas because it is your song at the end of the day. And my job is I want to make this song sound so good that it helps you out. The last do is have a good time. Everybody is here in the studio because everybody wants to just have a good time and vibe out to music and create something out of nothing. And so if you're coming in here treating it as, okay, you're just clocking in and clocking out, then the song is not going to come out with no real feeling. Make sure when you come into the studio, just have fun. Make sure you vibe with your engineer and vibe with everybody in the room and everybody's having a good time because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for, is for a good fucking time. Follow the studio etiquette if you really want your sessions to run smoothly and you want to build good rapport with your engineer. With that being said, this is the final episode of this first season. I'll catch you next Monday for the next season where we dive into the technical aspects of engineering. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want a mix done by me, hit me on Instagram and email. Catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace out.